Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the official preseason top 25 rankings. In this video, I will be discussing key players, impact losses, and where I think each team should be ranked heading into this season. Let's not waste any time and let's get started. At number 1, Purdue returns with clarity and a proven engine. Braden Smith remains the engine who controls pace and angles. Trey Kaufman-Renn supplies inside craft. Daniel Jacobson adds size and screens. CJ Cox brings quickness off the bench, and Fletcher Lawyer spaces the floor. Smith's growth area is finishing through contact while keeping live ball turnovers near zero. Kaufman-Renn's footwork gets points without isolations, which keeps the offense flowing. Jacobson's job is simple: set heavy screens, rebound, and wall the paint. Cox changes tempo and creates second unit runs with pressure and pace. Matt Painter will still run the nation's cleanest half court, and it looks the same in November as it does in March. The perimeter only needs timely threes because the shot quality is so high. Mackey Arena still tilts close games by itself. If the guards defend without fouling on the road, Purdue sits on the one line again. The team's clarity is its advantage every single night. At number 2, Houston brings the same standard with fresh weapons. Milos Uzan returns to run the show, Chris Senak adds mobile size, Isaiah Harwell brings polished scoring, and Joseph Tugler raises the defensive floor yet again. Uzan's value is simple: value the ball, win the 2-for-1s, and hit enough catch-and-shoot threes to keep spacing honest. Senak's length and touch fit Kelvin Sampson's physical identity, and he must own the glass to earn closing minutes. Harwell can score without hijacking possessions, which is perfect in Houston's structure. Tugler sprints, screens, and switches in doses, letting the Cougars play fast without gambling. They still win with defense, rebounding, and no-nonsense possessions. The freshman class raises the ceiling if it embraces the standard on day one. If the guards shoot league average from deep, pencil them into the last weekend again. Their toughness does not slump, which is why they live at the top. At number 3, Kentucky finally matches spacing with slashing. Otega Owe gives this team a powerful downhill wing. Jalen Lowe organizes at the point with pace control. Jaden Quaintance brings vertical pop at the 5, and Denzel Aberdeen adds quick shooting depth. Owe's jumper is the swing that turns good into terrifying. Lowe must command tempo and keep turnovers down, so their shooters live on catch and shoots instead of bailouts. Quaintance rim running and shot blocking create easy points and erase mistakes. Free throws decide crunch time minutes. Aberdeen's confidence can flip a game in 5 possessions, and he needs to guard his spot to stay on the floor. Mark Pope's spacing lets drivers attack gaps and skip to shooters for clean looks. If the defensive glass holds, Rupp will do the rest when this team gets rolling. Kentucky has a clear 1-seed path if Lowe's poise travels. The roster balance finally hits the spacing first plan. At number 4, Michigan pairs a gifted passer with size and a defensive eraser. Yaxel Lenenborg raises the defensive floor with rotations and boards. Adai Mara adds size and passing touch. Marez Johnson brings power and putbacks, and Elliot Cadeau runs the show. They move on from Danny Wolf and Vladislav Golden, which pushes Mara and Johnson into heavier responsibility inside. Cadeau must make fast decisions at Big Ten speed and hit enough open threes to keep driving lanes clear. Lenenborg's motor makes messy possessions disappear, and he turns stops into runouts. Mara's passing unlocks cutters and dribble handoffs, but foot speed in space is the test. Johnson's strength punishes small lineups and steadies the glass, making their best unit balanced. Dusty May's spacing plus Cadeau's tempo generates easy offense against set defenses. If Mara holds up on switches just enough, Michigan looks like a Final Four team. The defensive rebounding numbers will tell you how real the ceiling is. At number 5, Florida plays the math and trusts depth. Alex Condon is a mobile 7-footer who runs and finishes. Ruben Chinyelu protects the rim and eats boards. Boogie Flan brings late clock creation, and Thomas Haw adds switchable length. They move forward after losing Will Richard and Elijah Martin, so perimeter shot creation shifts the Flan and the bench. Condon's hands and touch make him a trustworthy roller who also contest without fouling. Chinyelu must stay on the floor to keep their defensive ceiling, and free throws will decide late minutes. Hawes' versatility lets Todd Golden toggle between big and small without losing defense. Florida wins the math with threes, free throws, and second chances, and the guards keep turnovers down in loud gyms. If the bench keeps a high 3 rate, the ceiling is huge. The Gators' tempo is chosen rather than forced, which travels. Their best lineup looks like March already. At number 6, UConn keeps the standard and swaps in fresh guards. Alex Caravan returns as the perfect space connector. Silas Damari Jr. adds two-way guard toughness. Solo Ball gives point-of-attack length, and Terrace Reed brings a rugged interior. The Huskies' offense still hunts the best shot rather than the loudest voice, which is why they never look rushed. Caravan's gravity unlocks slips and cuts, and Reed must have steady hands in traffic. Damari and Ball together should tilt the turnover battle on both ends. Dan Hurley's habits, screening angles, defensive rebounding, and pace control age beautifully across the season. The bench decides whether they can switch more often without sacrificing the glass. If Reed anchors late without fouling, UConn lives in title talk again. Their composure under pressure remains the superpower. The floor here is elite because the details never slip. At number 7, St. John's brings power, wings, and Patino pressure. Zuby Ejiofor is the power interior. Ian Jackson is the dynamic wing scorer, and Bryce Hopkins is the mismatch forward, with Jason Sonone adding instant juice. They move forward after the departures of Richmond and Lewis, which shifts playmaking to the wings and elbows. Ejiofor must anchor the glass and defend without fouling, so the pressure can stay on. Jackson's shot diet is the swing. Clean catch and shoots and straight line drives unlock everything else. Hopkins bullies small lineups and draws whistles, and his conditioning keeps him dangerous late. Sonone can turn a dead possession into 2 free throws if he embraces physicality and simple reads. Patino's pressure in waves turns mistakes into points and changes the temperature of games. If the threes land at a steady clip, top 10 is very real. The Garden becomes a cheat code when this group string stops. At number 8, BYU blends a star freshman with pro-style spacing. AJ Dybonsa headlines as a jumbo scorer. Rob Wright controls tempo with a mature handle, and Richie Saunders spaces and competes. Kevin Young's NBA-style spacing fits Dybonsa's mid-post and slot scoring perfectly, but the rookie must pick his spots and trust quick passes. Wright's job is to touch paint and spray to shooters without getting sped up. Saunders hits catch-and-shoot threes and guards to keep lineups balanced. The Cougars play fast without gifting turnovers, which is the difference between live ball runouts and controlled pace. Bench size on the glass will decide whether 5-out can live in big games. When Dybonsa embraces simple early and hunts late, the offense looks top 10 good. Opponents hate guarding their second side actions. This is a tough road team if the rebounding holds. The shooting travels anywhere when the ball moves on time. At number 9, UCLA bets on guard organization and skilled size. Donovan Dent organizes the Bruins. Sky Clark provides scoring and secondary creation. Eric Daly Jr. brings a strong face-up game, and Tyler Bilodeau adds skilled size, who can play inside out. With Adai Mara gone, post-scoring turns into movement, drives, and short roll touches for Daly and Bilodeau. Dent's job is clean decisions and calm end-of-clock possessions. Clark must hit open threes and guard bigger wings to keep the best 5 intact. Daly's mid-post craft creates fouls and kickouts, and the swing is defending in space. Bilodeau's footwork and touch make him a mismatch at times, but the rebounding has to be there. Mick Cronin's identity, toughness, clarity, low mistakes does not change, and gives them a high floor. When the guards value the ball, UCLA's efficiency climbs fast. If Bilodeau and Daly rebound, this profile looks like a second weekend team again. At number 10, Duke turns to balance star-by-committee frontcourt. Cameron Bouger steps into the frontcourt spotlight. Patrick Gongba gives screen and rim pressure, and Isaiah Evans fits the movement shooting lane. They move forward without Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, and Kaman Malua, which means creation by committee and cleaner shot selection. Boozer's balance and touch travel to March, but guarding in space will decide his minutes against stretch fives. Gongba's screening and target hands create easy points, and he must rebound through contact to anchor lineups. Evans relocates into threes and needs strength through contact to keep his minutes secure. John Shire will play through paint touches that turn into kickouts and short roll reads. If the guards defend the arc and the bigs wall the rim, Duke's defense lands in the top tier. The growth curve is steep if Boozer adapts the switches quickly. The Blue Devils still have Final Four upside with clean rolls. At number 11, Texas Tech marries defense with vertical pop and a steady lead guard. Christian Anderson's comfort at the point, JT Toppin's verticality, and Lawan Watt's slashing gives Tech layers after Darian Williams' departure. Anderson must balance pace with turnovers and keep the pull-up honest late in the clock. Toppin screens, runs, and soars, which is why he's one of the favorites for National Player of the Year. Grant McCaslin's defense still chokes off your first action and finishes possessions on the glass. The second unit's shooting determines whether they can live and switch everything for long stretches. Late game poise rests with Anderson until someone else proves it. If the offensive boards show up, the Red Raiders play above their seed in March. Their floor feels Sweet 16 strong again. At number 12, Arkansas resets its guard room with power and pace. DJ Wagner arrives to attack off the bounce. Carter Knox provides wing scoring, and Darius Acuff adds another downhill guard to the mix. They reset after losing Boogie Flan and Janelle Davis, which leaves more touches for Wagner to dictate pace. Wagner's next step is trimming tough twos without losing aggression. Knox must defend and rebound to stay on the floor when shots are not falling. Acuff's floater and passing gives John Calipari multiple ways to close games. The Hogs want the free throw line and the defensive glass because those numbers travel. If two of the three guards defend without fouling, Arkansas wins close games with whistle math. Bud Walton will carry them through one bad shooting night a week. The path is clear. Drive, spray, and crash. At number 13, Louisville brings shooting, pace, and two-way wings. Mikal Brown takes the wheel as a pace control guard. Ryan Conwell brings two-way wing stability, and Isaac McNeely adds a quick trigger three. They move on from Chucky Hepburn, which shifts creation to Brown. And in the motion game, Conwell's threes and defensive versatility fit Pat Kelsey's blueprint. McNeely's gravity stretches the floor and turns one stop into a mini run. Louisville must rebound by committee, so the pace stays a weapon and not a risk. Brown's late game decisions will decide how often the Cards close out wins instead of coin flips. The defense is built on multiple efforts rather than gambles. If they protect the ball on the road, the leap is real. At number 14, Arizona blends freshman punch with veteran poise. Braden Burries is ready-made scoring on the wing. Koa Pete supplies power and feel, and Jaden Bradley calms the offense with mature decisions. They replace Caleb Love's volume with cleaner possessions that start in the paint and end at the arc. Burries must finish through contact and keep the shot diet efficient. Pete's screens, short roll passes, and second chance points make the whole system hum, and the jumper is his swing to stardom. Bradley limits live ball turnovers and wins 2-for-1s with poise. Tommy Lloyd will keep pace high and spacing honest, which gives Burries the open floor touches he needs. If the defensive rebounding holds against bigger front courts, Arizona lives in the top 10. The way this group shares the ball is their separator. At number 15, Illinois goes supersized with skill across the front court. Illinois goes massive with twins Zvonimir and Tomislav Avicic stretching the floor and Kylan Boswell steering the perimeter. And they do it while moving on from Trey White, Will Riley, and Kasparis Yakachonis. Boswell's calm keeps the turnovers numbers low and puts shooters in their windows. The Twins must rebound their area and defend without fouling because that determines whether the 5-out spacing can stay on the floor late. Brad Underwood will space, cut, and trust simple reads to generate catch-and-shoot threes. The second unit's toughness gives them lineup flexibility when whistles pile up. If Boswell owns late clock situations with a clean pull-up, Illinois looks like a top 4 seed. The Visic's catch and shoots turn drives into layups and kickouts into daggers. Their defensive ceiling depends on verticality and rotations tightening by January. When the Twins bang and then pop, it is hard to guard two things at once. At number 16, Tennessee keeps the defensive standard and adds length on the wing. Nate Ament brings longer than you slashing and run and finish juice, while Jacoby Gillespie steps in as a lead guard who pressures the ball, pushes tempo, and hits timely catch-and-shoot threes. They move forward without Zakai Ziegler and Chaz Lanier, so shot creation and point-of-attack defense must be shared instead of shouldered by one player. Ament's corner threes need to be a yes shot to keep lanes open for his first step, and he will get easy buckets off Tennessee's push-ahead mentality. Gillespie's decision-making against switching looks is the swing stat, because the Vols thrive when the first paint touch comes early in the clock. Expect Rick Barnes to lean on defense, glass, and simple post touches to stabilize the half-court when jumpers are cold. Rotationally, they can toggle big or small without losing their identity, because the wings defend multiple spots. If two guards emerge as trustworthy stoppers alongside Gillespie, Tennessee finishes top 3 in defensive efficiency again. Offensive rebounding becomes their quiet superpower in close games. When Ament adds one counter dribble and Gillespie keeps turnovers low, the Vols half-court opens up and late-game offense looks cleaner. At number 17, Gonzaga rides a skilled frontcourt and seeks a late-game closer. Graham Ike gives the Zags reliable post-scoring, and Braden Huff stretches the floor as a skilled face-up big. They must replace Ryan Nembhard's late-game control, so the guards need to hit the first window on slips and back cuts that Mark Few's motion creates. Ike's double-team reads will determine whether the offense stalls or hums in March. Huff's swing is defending in space well enough to keep his shooting on the floor in tight games. Expect more two-big action that forces rotations and open corner threes. If a steady closer emerges by January, Gonzaga looks like itself again. The frontcourt passing covers a lot of sins when the ball does not stick. Defensive positioning and rebounding remain the baseline that lets their spacing cook. When their guards make the on-time pass, the offense still looks elite. At number 18, Iowa State doubles down on toughness and adds scoring punch. Taman Lipsey sets the Cyclone tone with toughness and steals, and now he gets help from the WAC Player of the Year guard Dominic Nelson and power wing Joshua Jefferson. Lipsey's job is to value the ball, dig out 50-50s, and make the easy read in a low possession game. Nelson brings shot creation off the bounce and deep range, but he must prove he can finish their size in the Big 12. Jefferson adds rebounding and rim pressure from the wing, with the jumper as his swing skill. Iowa State wins ugly on purpose, with gaps, deflections, and late clock poise. The half-court offense leans on cutting and offensive boards, rather than isolation. If bench shooting holds, Hilton Magic still turns 2 stops into a 7-0 run. This is the kind of roster that mucks up elite teams on neutral floors. Keep turnovers under control, and they live in the top 20 all season. At number 19, Kansas reloads with star freshman and rim protection. Darren Peterson headlines as a polished 3-level scorer. Trey White brings two-way toughness, and Flory Badunga supplies vertical pop and rim protection. They move forward without Hunter Dickinson and DeJuan Harris, which means a new pick-and-roll chemistry must form quickly. Peterson's early test is reading a second defender and finding the simple skip before help sets. White will guard the toughest wing, cut behind ball watchers, and hit standstill threes to keep spacing honest. Badunga's screens, sprints, block shots, and foul discipline will determine his endgame minutes. Bill Self will still win with angles, seals, and simple high-low actions. If Peterson buys into simple early and attacks late, the Jayhawks look like Kansas again. The defense should tighten as Badunga learns rotations and verticality. Their ceiling rises with every clean catch and shoot they generate. At number 20, Alabama sticks to modern math with a new lead guard. LeBaron Philon is the table setter with twitch and touch, and Latrell Wrightsell provides the spacing that keeps Nate Oates' math intact. They lost Grant Nelson, and Mark Sears, so the shot diet has to be even cleaner. Paint first, then threes in rhythm. Filan's challenge is handling length without drifting into floaters too early in the clock. Wrightsel's gravity is the pressure valve when games get muddy, and his defense must hold up to keep the best five on the floor. The wings must rebound so 5-out lineups do not bleed second chances. Defensively, they are best when they chase you off the arc and wall up at the rim. If the bench maintains 35+% from three, this offense keeps humming. The Tide will still live on free throws and kick out threes when the ball moves on time. When Philon touches the paint before the pass, Alabama's numbers crush you. Road shot selection is the tell for how high they go. At number 21, North Carolina reshapes its attack around balance and spacing. This Tar Heel version is built around Seth Trimble's composure, blue chip forward Caleb Wilson's versatility, and Henry Vasar's stretch size. Trimble must be a paint touch guard who trusts kickouts early so the offense breathes in the first 10 seconds. Wilson can post mismatches, hit cutters, and defend in space, but he must shoot open threes with confidence. Vasar's jumper drags bigs out and opens lanes, and he needs to answer with toughness on the glass. They lost Elliot Cadeau and Ian Jackson, so the playmaking and shot creation is shared. Carolina looks most dangerous when the ball hits the paint on the first action and kicks to a high percentage catch and shoot. The defensive glass turns stops into classic UNC runouts, which is still their best offense. If the bench holds serve defensively, the starters stay fresh for closing time. The team's vibe is mature rather than frantic, which should travel in the league. The path to be a top 10 seed is clean, tempo, spacing, and Trimble's low mistake drives. At number 22, Auburn starts the Stephen Pearl era with pressure and pace. It is the Stephen Pearl era now, and Auburn leans into ball pressure and pace with Tahad Pettiford at the point and Keyshawn Hall as the big wing creator. Pettiford brings jet speed and needs to pair it with smart shot selection so transition does not become turnovers. Hall arrives as a 6'7" bully wing who can make shots and pass on the move, and he gives them a late clock mismatch when the play dies. They lost Janai Broom, so rim deterrence and defensive rebounding must come by committee with active rotations behind it. Pearl will still hunt early threes, but the paint touch first rule keeps the math on their side. Pettiford's decision making in 2-for-1 situations will swing close games late. Hall's ability to post small guards without stalling the offense provides a clean plan B. The bench must rebound its minutes to keep the press alive after timeouts. If Auburn protects the ball and wins the free throw line, they look like a second weekend team. The new identity is chaos with control, and that fits their personnel. At number 23, Oregon brings versatility with a guard-big duo and a high-motor forward. Jackson Shelstead gives Oregon a crafty lead guard who can change pace, hit pull-ups, and keep the dribble alive until a cutter breaks free. Nate Biddle's job is to stretch the floor as a pick-and-pop five and still own the defensive glass, which lets them play smaller and faster. Sean Stewart adds force and second-jump rebounding, and he has to live at the rim without piling up offensive fouls. Shelstead's next step is finishing against length and making the early pass when traps come. Biddle's three ball pulls centers out, but his physicality must hold up so they do not bleed second chances. Stewart's free throws will decide how long he can stay aggressive in tight games. Dana Altman will still toggle lineups, switch actions, and hunt early offense. When the weak side corner three falls for this roster, runs come in a hurry. The defensive question is rebounding in the 5-out looks, which puts real pressure on Biddle and Stewart to finish plays. If they clear the glass, Oregon closes like a ranked team again. At number 24, Creighton enters the year retooling around a new core. Creighton has to reimagine itself after losing Ryan Kalkbrenner in the middle and Stephen Ashworth at the point. The keys now slide to Josh Dix as the steady shooter and secondary handler, Owen Freeman as the high motor big who runs and finishes, and sophomore Blake Harper as the wing scorer who gives them pop. Dix needs to keep his efficiency while taking more late clock shots, and he must show he can create something simple when the first action dies. Freeman gives them rim running and second chance points, but he must avoid early fouls and hold position against stronger fives. Harper brings athleticism and confidence, yet his shot selection will decide his minutes in December. Creighton's spacing and ball movement will still create corner threes and short roll reads because that is baked into their DNA. The big defensive change is life without Kalkbrenner's shot blocking umbrella, so team rebounding and verticality become non-negotiable. If Freeman anchors enough and Dix keeps the turnover numbers low, the Blue Jays remain a tough out in a one-day prep. Their after timeout actions will steal a bucket or two every night. At number 25, Ohio State leans on a veteran point guard and a skilled young core. This group runs through Bruce Thornton's poise and strength at the point, with sophomore John Mobley stretching the floor and Devin Royal bullying mismatches at the four. Thornton's growth area is finishing through length while keeping turnovers quiet when teams switch late. Mobley's range is real, but his shot diet must stay clean so the offense does not live on hard twos. Royal's face-up game creates fouls and putbacks, and he needs to rebound his position to keep their pace. They will win the glass and the free throw line if their wings sprint to corners and their bigs sprint into screens instead of drifting. Jake Diebler wants speed without chaos, which means Thornton touches the ball twice on big possessions. The bench shooting determines how much 5-out spacing they can live in on the road. If they hold up at the point of attack defensively, the ceiling jumps quickly. Close games look better when Thornton initiates, swings it, and then gets it back to finish. That is the official preseason top 25, with real rosters, real roles, and the losses that actually changed things going into this year. Drop the 3 teams you think I rated too low, and give me one sleeper outside the poll that will crash the list by January. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.